Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Bell & Ross instrument BR03-92-CK. You can see this green ceramic Bell & Ross instrument watch and purchase it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time to see our full listing for this watch with additional accessories included, high resolution images, and naturally complete pricing details. On my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, this watch has an impressive presence but a very wearable proportion. Now, the presence comes from the all-green aesthetic, a combination of greens from the very bright to the very muted. This watch is a no-holds-barred military tribute timepiece. Now, in terms of the actual ergonomics, they don't come much more adaptable than this. A perfectly rectangular case, 42 millimeters across, with a very reasonable 11.5 millimeter thickness. This is an easy watch to wear on a smaller wrist like mine, and I would say even down to about 13.5 centimeters in circumference, you're going to be able to wear this perfectly rectangular watch with its Minimalist Lugs quite easily with a good sense of proportion and security. Now, from lug to lug, it has a 51.5 millimeter span, but for the most part the lugs just sort of drape themselves down and around the flank of your wrist. If you have a smaller wrist, again, the watch is a good companion. It also spreads its mass evenly with no hotspots or pressure points, and because it is almost completely flat across its back, it feels very comfortable on the wrist. Now, it's also worth mentioning that ceramic, of which this watch is completely composed, is a very light material. It has a wieldiness that you don't get even with steel. Well, not quite as light as resin composites or carbon. It's lighter than you'll find any conventional base metal watch, save titanium. Now, the strap is a superb piece. As you can see, it's full width, meaning that it spans the entire width of the lugs. A lot of times, wide watches have excessively thin straps, and that leads to a tendency to want to torque and tumble side to side on the wrist. Because Bell & Ross equips this watch with such a broad and burly, natural vulcanized rubber strap, it's well planted on the wrist. It's also easy to fit around a small wrist because you can pull it straight down. It doesn't have any tendency to billow out or flare, and yet it does look very integrated. The watch is all of a piece, strap and case, because of the way the strap flares and integrates into the lugs. Now, it also has beautiful character lines molded in, and it's very substantial. So while very soft, it's also meaty and sturdy. And you can see that on the underside, it has very smart relief channels molded into it. Not only does this thin the material out enough to make it more flexible, but it also allows moisture, heat, sweat, and grit to escape the wrist on a hot day. Now, in true instrument watch fashion, the watch has a pin buckle with a large trapezoidal buckle and a classical curved pin for easy on-the-fly adjustability during periods of activity, hot or cold weather that may change the size of your wrist on the fly. Now, the watch harks back to the original 2005 instrument watch that Bell & Ross debuted in Basel that year. The company goes back to 1992. Originally founded in Paris and having its watches contract built by Sin-Uren in Germany, in 2005, Bell & Ross completely reinvented itself with the instrument series, essentially taking the look of an analog instrument from a 20th century aircraft flight deck and transposing it into a wristwatch format. It really broke up the orthodoxy in the tool or utility watch category, which up to that point had come from two schools of thought: the Blancpain Rolex school, founded in the early 50s, and the Panerai school, founded in the 1930s. The Bell & Ross was a complete departure and a breath of fresh air, pun intended. Now, the watch features a green ceramic case in this case, but you can see that it's beautifully matte finished with facets and the same nuances that you get on a Bell & Ross steel case. The key difference being that you can easily handle this one with the expectation that the finish will last as long as you own the watch. That is to say, ceramic is nearly as scratch resistant as sapphire, and just as a sapphire crystal will remain unmarred when not abused through the decades, so will ceramic. Now, it's also important to note that because the ceramic is quite light, this is a good match for a sports watch application, and if it does get nicked or chipped, Ceramic being homogeneous all the way through isn't like PVD, so if it does get scratched or chipped, there's just more green ceramic underneath. You don't get metal glaring out at you. The dial is fully loomed, hands, indices, and Arabic numerals, and it includes a discrete date window at 4:30 for those times when you want the date, blends in for those times when you don't. Although an aviation-inspired timepiece, it does have 100-meter water resistance. It's equipped with an ultra-thin ETA 2892A2 based caliber that's automatic winding, features a quick set function for the date, hacking seconds, so when you pull the crown out, you do stop the balance, allowing synchronization. Bidirectional winding, there's no rotor wobble that you can perceive on the wrist. A 21-jeweled automatic ultra-thin caliber. It's also tank tough, well suited to the character of the watch inside which it is ensconced. Now you can see this watch and purchase it on our website. This is the Bell & Ross instrument BR03-92-CK in green ceramic.